Hello, my friends and family on YouTube, Instagram, Angelinos. This video is for you. Your boy AMJ here. I am making this video. It is specific to the city of Los Angeles. I've gotten a lot of questions over the last few days regarding what's going on with the rent. Can I not pay my rent? Moratorium on rent hikes. A lot of bad information is going on out there. A lot of landlords are also providing their tenants with false forms, requesting documentation that they're not entitled to, like bank statements and tax forms and things of that nature. So I actually have the official City of Los Angeles COVID-19 eviction protections fact sheet. I'm making this video to go over it with you guys. Again, this video is only pertinent to those living in the city of Los Angeles. So I'll put this sheet up somewhere, or if you want a copy of it for yourself, you can DM me on Instagram and I'll message it over to you, or you can email me at amjr@andymartinezjr.com, or hit me up through Facebook, whatever means you find easily. I'm happy to share this with you. And tough times. I'm just trying to pass out information. Again, if any of you have better information or better knowledge of what is going on, I'm all ears. I just putting it out there so that everyone knows where they stand and what their rights are, and help everybody get through this, because we're gonna get through this. It's gonna hurt, but we're gonna get through this. All right, so let me go over it. This is called the City of Los Angeles COVID-19 Eviction Protections Fact Sheet. And it says the City of Los Angeles eviction protections apply to all rental units in the City of Los Angeles. The rent increase freeze applies only to rental units subject to the city's rent stabilization ordinance, rent control that we all know it by. To find out if your unit is subject to the RSO, you can text RSO to 855-880-7368. Text RSO to 855-880-7368. Summary of residential tenant protections. Non-payment of rent due to COVID-19 beginning March 4th, right? Today is April 8th. Beginning on March 4th through the end of the local emergency, no owner can evict a residential tenant for non-payment of rent if the tenant is unable to pay rent because of circumstances related to COVID-19, such as loss of income due to the workplace closure or reduced hours due to COVID-19. All my bartenders, my friends, waiters, so many people in the restaurant industry out here in Los Angeles, my heart goes out to you. All the restaurants are shut down. Loss of income due to workplace closure, this certainly applies to you guys. Loss of income, increased childcare expenditures due to school closures. All the kids are home from school in the city of Los Angeles, I think all over the country. Healthcare expenditures related to being ill with COVID-19 or caring for a household member who is ill with COVID-19. I don't personally know anybody in that situation, but I do know people that have been affected by COVID-19, that have gotten COVID-19. But they had still lost their jobs. So they were home sick. And then loss of income relating to reasonable expenditures stemming from government-ordered emergency measures, which is pretty much all of the city of Los Angeles. And again, I'm just talking about the city of LA. The LA City Ordinance does not require tenants. So this is the part in the bullshit that I was telling you about. Some of the landlords are sending out contracts to their tenants saying, hey, you got to give me bank statements, copy of your 2020 tax return. If you do qualify for any of the COVID-19 stimulus, they have the right to have at your stimulus money and use that money to pay the rent. They don't. It's a bunch of bullshit. The word will come to me, but they cannot take your money. They can't ask you for bank statements. They can't ask you for tax statements. They can't ask you for any of that. Let me keep reading. The city does not require tenants to provide their landlord notice or documentation if unable to pay rent due to COVID-19, but it is strongly recommended that the tenants keep documentation in the event of a court action. So just keep your records. You don't have to share it with them. Let the court ask you to provide it. subpoena you, whatever it is, and that's way down the road. However, the governor's order indicate a tenant must notify their landlord in writing before rent is due or within 7 days after the rent due date. So if you did not pay the rent for April, today is April 8th, you should have turned it in by yesterday the latest, but coming up in May, just give them notice before the rent is due if you're not gonna make it in May, and you have through May 7th to let them know. But don't be everybody's going through a tough time. Landlords as well, they're getting squeezed. They don't know exactly what's going on. Don't abuse these protections. It doesn't help anybody. You're gonna end up having to pay this back anyway. But give people a heads up. I find that, a little bit of notice is always well appreciated. They may not like what you have to share with them. They may not like that you can't pay your rent on time, but there's no reason to be a jerk about it. Give them a heads up, and it's on them, not you. All right, 7 days. The city ordinance does not relieve tenants of the obligation to pay rent. Tenants have up to 12 months from the expiration of the local emergency to pay back rent. A landlord and tenant may, but are not required to, agree to a repayment plan for unpaid rent. Landlords may not charge interest or a late fee on their rent. So if you can't pay your rent on time, you're not going to get charged whatever the late payment fees are. And the most important thing here is you're going to have to pay this back. This is going to be really difficult for a lot of people because you're not paying if you're falling behind on your rent right now, you're going to have to pay your rent. So let's say your rent is $3,000 a month, right? And you're only paying, let's say half of that, $1,500. Now, if you go 3 months that way, paying $1,500 a month, you're going to owe your landlord $4,500. When those 3 months are up, whenever they lift the ordinance, you're gonna have to start a repayment plan. It's not really clear when and how, but you got 12 months to do it in. You're gonna have to pay back those $4,500. And just to give you an idea, if you're gonna break that up into 12 payments, your rent is gonna go up. What's the math on that? $300 and something a month, according to the repayment plan. So you're gonna have to pay that money back. I think that it's gonna be a challenge because as people get back to work, they need to recover losses. And, if you were struggling already to pay your rent, if you go back to being even, you're still gonna have to be responsible for that difference in non-rent payment. So see how that goes. The eviction protections. A tenant may not be evicted for a no-fault reason during the local emergency, period. For example, the owner move in or install let me repeat that. For example, for owner move-in or to install a resident manager, so they can't come in here and say, hey, we're going to put a manager to live on site during this time. That's a bunch of bullshit. If the owner wanted to move into your property, can't do it right now. It's a bunch of bullshit. Don't let them push you around. A lot of that's going on. They want to get tenants out of there. Tenants are scared. They're not informed, and they're pushing them out of their units. Additionally, tenants may not have to be evicted for having unauthorized occupants, pets, or nuisance as a result of circumstances related to COVID-19. Tenancies may not be terminated in order to demolish, convert, or withdraw a residential rental unit from the rental housing market under the Ellis Act until 60 days after the expiration of the declaration of the emergency. So you got 60 days after before they can start pulling that kind of crap on you. No rent increases for the property subject to the RSO as of March 30th, 2020. Rent increases are prohibited for property subject to the RSO until 60 days after the local emergency expires from March 30th, 2020. Cost recovery pass-through, capital improvement charges. Landlords may issue a notice of a legal rent increase, but cannot collect the additional rent until 60 days after the expiration of the emergency period. So whenever they lift the emergency period, they can hand you that 60-day notice and give you a heads up that your rent is going up. If your rent stabilized, remember that's 3%, and if you don't pay utilities, it's 4%. Assistance for tenants. Here's the tenants hotline. Tenants may seek information and assistance for the Los Angeles and Housing Community Investment Department by calling 866-557-RENT. Again, 866-557-RENT. You can ask me for these forms so you can have a copy of these phone numbers. They're open Monday through Friday between the hours of 8:30 to 4:30 and weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or by filing a complaint online at hcidla.lacity.org/file FILE-a-complaint. Again, I'll have this up there for you, or you can Google this form, take a little look at what it looks like. And then here's the application or the notification to the landlord of inability to pay full rent due to the COVID emergency. This is also attached to this form. Basically, it has the date, the address, the information that the city of Los Angeles declared a local emergency on March 4th. A nice little subject line saying, hey, I'm ready to let you know that I can't pay the rent in full for the month of, and you might have to fill these out for every month because you've been affected by the pandemic. I've been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in the following way: suffered loss of income because I've had to pay healthcare expenses related to treating the COVID-19 illness. I have suffered a loss of income because of COVID-19 related workplace closure. That's most of the people in the city of Los Angeles. Loss of income because of school closures may have increased childcare expenses. All the kids are home, that is expensive. Suffered a loss of income because of government ordered COVID-19 measure. That's also something that is affecting the entire city of Los Angeles. It says that you understand that rent is deferred and that you must repay any past due rent within 12 months after the local emergency expires, unless I voluntarily commence repayment earlier. The repayment period may be extended by mutual agreement by the landlord and tenant. The landlord may voluntarily extend a rent discount to the tenant during the emergency. Any voluntary rent discount will not reset the contract rent under the rent stabilization ordinance. The LA City ordinance indicates that prior to the expiration of the local emergency or within 90 days of the first missed rent payment, whichever comes first, a landlord and tenant may but are not required to agree to a plan for repayment of unpaid rent. If the landlord and tenant agree to rent repayment plan, the City Housing's Community Investment Department suggests the following options, and they give you a few options on a repayment plan divided by 12 months. Then you basically sign this form. So look, what I want to share with you is that they cannot ask you for your bank statements. They can't ask you for tax forms. They can't ask you to enter an agreement right now that you're going to start paying X amount of dollars. They can't do anything, really. You just need to give them notice that you're not going to be able to pay your rent. It doesn't even tell you how much you have to pay if they don't give you a minimum. Simply states, let your landlord know, hey, my rent is $3,000 a month. This month, I'm only going to be able to give you $1,500. And you can do that throughout until this citywide ordinance has been lifted. It's a tough time for everybody. I don't like that there's this fraud going on by landlords to deceive tenants. Also in reverse, tenants, don't deceive your landlords. Don't commit fraud. Don't lie. Don't get yourself into a bind if you don't have to, because you're gonna have to pay this back. For those of you that need to take advantage of this program, go ahead and take advantage of it. It's there for you. You will get through this. It's going to be a tough time for the road ahead. I don't expect any of this to go away in the next 6 months. I think we're looking at something more about a year, 18 months, 2 years, for at least the city of LA to get back to how we know it, if ever. A lot of restaurant closures are already happening. A lot of places are already announcing that they're not coming back. The community around me is changing. And my heart goes out to each and every one of you. There's some places that I'm gonna miss dearly. But anyway, if you want a copy of these forms, please just hit me up or look for them online. Again, it's just COVID-19 eviction protections fact sheet. Just be aware of your rights. Be aware that you're gonna have to repay this. If you don't know how, don't worry. Right now, you'll figure it out because you're resilient and I believe in you, and you will get through this. If you like the information I'm providing for you today, just hit a thumbs up on YouTube here. If you have a YouTube account, hit subscribe. It makes me happy. Every now and again, I pick up subscribers. It puts a smile on my face. And if you have any notes or any suggestions for me or any better information for the community, feel free to share them. And much love. Hit me up. Be well. Good luck. You'll get through this.